Well, let's just start at the most obvious point in this game, right? Everybody's going to talk about it. It's going to be talked about in length this offseason by fans, the talking heads of, ESPN or Fox or, wherever you're consuming your sports media here on YouTube. Everybody's going to talk about it. Let's talk about the Clemson offense. They ran 100 plays tonight, and we produced a whopping 14 points from those 100 plays produced or ran. I think we pretty much outgained Tennessee in every statistical category tonight. But for whatever reason, our offense could not get it done. They could not finish drives. It seemed like as soon as they crossed the 50-yard line, Tennessee turned into a completely different defense. Let's start at the Clemson offense.
Yeah, just watching this game, it really just sort of, you validated a lot of the things that I said after the Notre Dame game, and it also validated a lot of the concerns that that we had prior to this game, because we had talked a lot about how Cade Klubnik,
yes.
Being replacing DJ as the starter, it breathed life into the offense in the ACC championship game. It was a great thing to watch. Clemson really looked like a little bit more like the Clemson we know in that game. But we both said we've got to see it again.
Right.
And the concern was that while Cade certainly brings different, a different skill set to the offense,
Yes.
his mobility is really valuable, and he is definitely more accurate at times than DJ was. The concern was that it wasn't going to be enough to fix some of the intrinsic offensive issues that this team has suffered through the last two seasons. And those concerns were validated, unfortunately. And it starts with this coaching staff.
Yes.
This offensive coaching staff is not anywhere close to operating at the level that they should be. And I'm not even entirely sure they are good enough to operate better than they are. And that's the scary part.
Right.
Because time and time again, they're just the same issues crop up, and the lack of improvement in so many areas, and the regression in some instances, and in so many areas is really, really concerning. And so it starts with this coaching staff, and specifically, I know Brandon Street is getting a lot of the blame, and of course he should. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, this all falls back on one man, Dabo Swinney.
Absolutely. The $10 million man.
He's
the $10 million man.
This is his staff. These are the guys that he, time and time again, reiterated that these were the guys that he believed in, and that they were the right people for the job, and that they had his 100% support. And the best days of Clemson football were still ahead of us.
Yeah. We don't hear that phrase much anymore out of Dabo Swinney.
Right.
We don't hear that phrase much anymore, at least the past 2 years. I mean, even when we had some tough losses, we would hear that phrase time and time again, the best is yet to come. And then when we, would climb the mountaintop, we would hear it, the best is yet to come. We don't hear that much anymore because I don't know if he actually believes it anymore. So maybe that's why he doesn't say it anymore. And to your point, the offensive staff is, I mean, it's just not good. It's just not good. It's the same issues. I mean, I feel like we're having the same conversation that we've had on this channel like at least 2 or 3 other times this season. Probably a lot more than that. But this offensive staff doesn't get it done. The play calling is, I mean, questionable at best most of the times. Um, just the offensive, I mean, the protection tonight, for instance, was absolutely terrible. What was that? I mean, Tennessee kept doing the same exact thing, and they had free rushers running at Cade Klubnik every time they wanted a free rusher rushing at Cade Klubnik. It's absolutely crazy. He didn't have time for a lot of his dropbacks, and then when he did have time, for whatever reason, I noticed, especially in this game, Cade has a bad habit of wanting to break the pocket and run to his right side, right? Which ended up very badly for him because this isn't high school anymore. You can't just outrun every defender. These dudes are fast too, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of those. I feel like that's one of those high school habits that Cade has, and he's used to being kind of the quickest, fastest dude on the field and can kind of outrun those big defensive ends. Well, this is big time college football. That's not the case for majority of the defenses you're going to face, right? So the offense was bad tonight. Offensive line was bad again. I mean, I feel like I've talked about this a ton on this channel before as well. We constantly abandon the run. I mean, in the first half, we didn't even try to run the ball. I think Shipley had 3 carries in the first half, and Maffa had like 5. So our running backs combined for 7 carries or 8 carries. Our running backs combined for 8 carries in the first half. And I think it was a total of maybe 30-something yards. That's not good enough. We did run the ball a lot tonight, but 20 of those runs were Cade. We got 2 monsters in the backfield. Cade shouldn't have to rush the ball 20 times. And I get the zone read and stuff like that, but it wasn't just zone read. So I mean, that's a play calling thing. And then, honestly, I feel like this coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is currently constructed, isn't good enough. And I don't think they can be good enough. Personally, honestly, if you ask me, like if I had to guess right now, could this staff improve and become good enough? I don't think so. Which, to your point, what you said, that is scary. And it's scary for one major reason, because I don't think there are any changes coming to this coaching staff. No. I don't. At least no major changes. You may have analyst here or an analyst there, an off-field position change here or there. But the main core of this offensive side of the ball and this coaching staff, how it's currently constructed, it's not changing. And that's scary because I don't like what I see. I don't like this offense. And I don't think it can get the job done. I don't think it's going to be able to perform at the level that Clemson wants to perform at anymore. So, I don't know.
Yeah. It's really hard. And I see some people in the chat talking about, DJ and all that. I don't think this game really changes anything as far as, how we view the DJ Uyunglele tenure. I think these are things we all knew. No one here said that, DJ was the source of Clemson's offensive struggles. He certainly played a part in it, but he was by no means the number one reason. And at this point in time, Clemson doesn't have a quarterback that's able to even mask a lot of those issues.
No.
And
we don't have the quarterback. We don't have the receiver talent.
Yeah. And so the problem is this team, this program, Dabo himself has not really shown a willingness to do anything to at least mitigate that.
Yeah.
It's I mean, if you're not going to use the transfer portal, I mean, what difference makers does Clemson have at receiver right now? I mean, I thought Joseph Ngata looked pretty good tonight for the most part. I do think that there is some improvement made there, and he seems to have a better rapport with Cade. And you're returning a lot of this wide receiver room back, and while I don't think they're bad, these receivers are bad players, and they certainly have room for improvement. Will it be enough for us to see any kind of significant change? Because time this season that Clemson has gone up against a competent coaching staff with players that rival the talent of Clemson, they've lost.
Yep.
They flat out lost. I mean, Notre Dame is pretty much is close to as talented as Clemson. South Carolina is not more talented than Clemson, but they have but their staff, it was comparable enough, and they had difference makers at those key positions that it was able to close the gap, and their coaches outcoached Clemson's coaches, and then this game Tennessee, even with the guys that they were missing. They were missing a significant chunk of their offensive production, and they were also missing guys on defense. And you got flat out beat.
We got beat.
And will that change with another offseason? I mean, we have 2 years of the same issues, and not really much done. Not really much has been done to change it. And I don't know, man. It's hard to. It's hard. I'm optimistic slightly for next season, but it's not to the point where I think this team is going to make that massive jump where they can really seriously contend for a national championship. Because unless Cade really just blooms in his second season and becomes starts putting up Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence type performances, you're going to see more of the same, and you're going to play some team. And the thing is the league, the ACC is improving around you.
Yep, very much so.
There are teams that are pretty soon are going to be at least on par with you talent wise. Miami is getting there. I know they haven't necessarily performed well on the field, but it's still something to keep watch of. Florida State just won 10 games, and they are trending up. And they are still leveraging the transfer portal and getting more difference makers right now. And Mike Norvell is doing a good job down there. They have a good staff with guys that have at least have experience and have they work together and they know what they're doing. And you're in for a tough battle in Death Valley next year when they come down. And so
they're already talking.
You've got to find a way to at least slow down the way that these teams are the teams around you and the teams you directly compete against are catching up to you. And I mean, there's multiple ways you can do that, and Dabo does not seem to have a willingness to do those things. So it's I don't know, man. It's next year is going to be interesting, and you got to hope that this freshman class really comes in and builds your depth, and maybe you get a difference maker or two out of it. Because if you're not going to leverage the transfer portal, it's hard to see where the upside for next season. Maybe you win the ACC again, but beyond that, who knows?
Yeah, it's not looking particularly good. I'm not exactly ecstatic about next year. I think we'll see what happens in the spring. We'll see how it develops. But I stand behind my statement that currently constructed, I don't think this offensive staff can get it done. If they prove me wrong, I'll be more than happy to come on here and say that I was wrong, and I will be happy with that result because I hope I'm wrong. And I hope I'm wrong because I don't think Dabo is going to change it all, at least the staff as it's constructed right now. And I don't know what it would take for him to be willing to change the current staff.